Yokoso washtare. Welcome back. And as you may have noticed, we are doing something a little bit different today. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking in games and anime and other forms of media for instances of classical Japanese, because if you're like me, one of the ways in which you got inspired to look into more Japanese culture was from other media. So specifically, I have found some instances in games and anime where it shows up, and I am going to be explaining to you what it's saying, and not only what it's saying and what it means, but how it works, how the grammar works. So hopefully you find this enjoyable, and you can understand and appreciate why these instances of classical Japanese are as awesome and as cool as they actually are, and you can enjoy your games and your anime a little bit more. Alright, so specifically for now, what we're going to be looking at is the first of the Mythic Tales from Ghost of Tsushima, The Legend of Shigenori, or I believe in English it's also called The Heavenly Strike. But let's just get right into it, and we'll go over again the grammar and how it all works and everything like that. So, let us begin. Okay, so right off the bat, we've got some things that we got to go over. So, personal translation, or to break it down, Tsushima means the island. Ni, it means like to or at. It marks a place or a direction. And hito, right here, means person, humans, people. And the no, normally in Japanese, this would be a possessive, a thing that marks possessive, like of or belonging to. But in this instance, actually, what it notices or what it denotes is the thing that comes before it is the thing, is the subject that's doing whatever is happening. And then utsuri hajimuru, okay? Utsuru in modern Japanese means to move, to go to a different place, to transfer. It's kind of what you use when you move objects, or objects move from one place to another. And then hajimuru. Now, hajimuru means to begin, and then hodo means like a period or a degree or the space of time. So in English, this would be when people first moved to Tsushima. Now, for those of you who may have studied Japanese, you might be looking at this and think that's a little strange. Tsushima ni makes sense. Hito makes sense. No. Now, again, like I said, this isn't the original normal Japanese of denoting possessive or being of. It means it's kind of like the wa or the ga in modern Japanese. It means that the thing that comes before it, it's denoting the subject of a sentence. And then utsuri, which again means to transfer. And then hajimuru hodo. A lot of people are going to, who are aware of regular Japanese, are going to see this and think, wait, I thought it was hajimeru. Why isn't it hajimeru? Because classically, the verb was hajimu. And they didn't say hajimeru. Hajimu was what they said. But the way it's set up here is the ru on the end of it means that this verb is in the attributive form, I think is what it's called. In that, in modern Japanese, we can say hanasu hito, a person who speaks, or let's go with hashiru hito, a person who runs. Or let's do taberu hito, because that makes a little bit more sense. Taberu means to eat, and taberu hito means a person that eats. But classically, what they would do is they technically had different forms for a verb when it describes a person or an object or a thing. So, or like, for example, hajimu. Let's do hajimu. It was hajimu. So if you say like the festival began, matsuri hajimu, right? Or hajime keri, or something like that. Matsuri hajimu. But a festival that begins, you would say hajimuru matsuri. A festival that began. This form is what you do when you want to take the verb and use it to describe an actual object. Not what the object is, well, I guess what the object is doing, but it's when you have the verb comes before the noun and describes it as the thing that is doing that thing, you use this form. And then hodo means in modern Japanese degree, extent, but in classical Japanese it also meant time. It kind of was like a time period or a place even. So, when people first came to Tsushima. Let's continue. Okay. 異様な雷と大風、島を襲い蹴り. Okay. 異様な means strange or weird, unusual. 雷 means lightning. と and 大風 means great wind, big gale. 島 island, o denoting the thing that is being acted upon, and osoi means to attack, assault, and then keri is a classical version of a past tense. It's also got a little poetic thing. We'll get into it. So iyo. So this is actually technically not a Japanese word. This is a Chinese word. This is a Chinese loan word. If you read the Kojiki, you will never, ever see this word, ever. But the I is the Sino-Japanese pronunciation of this character, which means different, unusual, strange. And yo means like form, appearance, or a type. So iyo means strange, unusual. And then this is interesting why I'm not entirely sure why they did this here, but this na thing, again, if you're familiar with regular Japanese, you know that the na turns certain of these nouns into adjectives. But what's interesting is in classical Japanese, they didn't actually do just the na, because the na is a shortened version of naru, which is the verb that means to be. And specifically what naru means is that it is denoting that this thing becomes this other thing. So and what I would have expected it to be is iyo naru ikazuchi. The ikazuchi, which means thunder or lightning. The lightning that becomes, or that is, nari, the classical verb nari means to be or to become. The lightning that is strange. So I find it really interesting that they only have the na here as opposed to the full naru. But I mean, I'm not an expert in this, so I'm not going to argue with them. But so we have ikazuchi, which means thunder or lightning. And then to means and, just like it does in modern Japanese. O kaze means literally big wind, great wind. And then notice here, however, that they don't have a particle. If you're familiar with regular Japanese, again, you would expect a wa or a ga to go here. But in classical Japanese, it's very interesting because a lot of the times the main centerpiece of a sentence doesn't have a particle, because they just assume that this is what we're talking about. And all the was and the gas are basically there to denote how these different other parts of the sentence relate to the main thing of the sentence, which is what we're talking about. So this great wind, shima o, and this is like regular Japanese, it denotes that the shima, which is the island, is what is receiving the action that is about to follow. And then osoi, oso means to attack or to assault. And then you put it in the I form, the oso, instead of osohu, you put it into oso-i. So you can attach the keri ending. And keri is a huge thing that you see in classical Japanese all the time. One of its uses is that it's a past tense thing. It's kind of a recollective thing, like, oh, I'm remembering this thing that happened. But it also has a little bit of a poetic connotation to it. Oftentimes you'll see it used in poetry to give it kind of like a factor, for lack of a better term. So it can be used for past tense, but it can also be used for like poetic emphasis. So, moving on. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Ikazuchi, thunder, no, and this one is like the classical Japanese. It denotes an of, or actually, no, I don't think it is. No. It's just like, it's like the classical Japanese. It's like the modern wa or ga. It's denoting that this thing that we just said is going to be doing the action that follows. So, uchi, strike, taru is like a continuation or a past tense or a completion thing. Tsuchi is earth, land. Yori means from. Inazuma is lightning, no. And this one is the regular Japanese, the modern Japanese, denoting of. No, kemono is beast. Ide is modern Japanese. Now we say de, deru, de. And then ide, tari means, again, past tense / completion / continuation. So again, let's break this down a little bit. Ikazuchi, so the thunder or the lightning. No means the lightning is the thing that's doing this thing. Uchi, so strikes, hit, attacks. And then uchi, and then you have the chi, so you can attach the taru. And taru is this next thing. Taru is the thing you see in classical Japanese all the time. So like I said, it means completion and continuation. It's kind of like in English we would say a thing happened and then is continuing. So oftentimes we would translate it as like striking. So if we use the verb strike, striking, or struck. And then we have it in that attributive form because we're going to use it to describe this next part, which is the earth. So the earth that was struck by lightning. And then yori, so from that earth, yori means from, which it does in modern Japanese too. Yori, so from that earth that was struck by lightning. Inazuma is another term for lightning. Specifically, ikazuchi means more thunder, and inazuma means lightning. And now, if you're wondering, like, why is it spelled inazuma? Because ina means like rice plant, rice stalk, and tsuma, in modern Japanese means wife. Now, in classical Japanese, tsuma did not mean wife specifically. It meant more spouse, somebody with whom you were married and you had children with. And nobody knows for sure why we call it inazuma. But one theory suggests that because you need rain to grow rice crops, you need rain to grow rice stalks. When rain came, a lot of times there was thunder. And so they believed that maybe when the lightning struck the ground, that was kind of like the lightning fertilizing the earth, for lack of a better term. So they called it the spouse, the husband in this case, because tsuma didn't just mean wife back in the day, but the spouse of rice plants. And that's where they think that maybe they got this term for inazuma, is that they believe that it was the thing that was doing the fertilization of the earth. But you know, it's just a fancy name. Nobody really knows. But anyway, so inazuma no, which is modern Japanese no, meaning of, no kemono. Kemono means beast. So these beasts of lightning. Ide, because back in the day they didn't say de. The e somehow got lost over the years. But ide, to come out, to come forth, to come about. Ide, and then tari, like I said, is just that tari that we just went over. Here it's in the attributive form. It's using to describe the earth, whereas now it's at the end of the sentence, so it's in the ending form. Ide tari. So it's saying that these beasts of thunder, these beasts of lightning came out of the earth, and now they're here, and now they're out. Okay, so we're going over this a little bit. Kemono. And again, notice how it doesn't have a wa or a ga like you would normally expect, because again, we're talking about the beasts here. And so the kemono, the beasts, sa, means like nature or their temperament, their comportment, sa. And then arakereba. So arai means fierce, ferocious. Kereba means because. Sato, village. Nite, at. Abare, go wild. Hakai, destruction. No kagiri, so no is the of, kagiri is the extent, the degree, the extent. O, so it means that this is the thing that is being done, the thing that is being done as opposed to the thing that is the doing. And then tsukusu means to use up or to do completely. So again, to break it down a little bit more, kemono, the beasts, sa, their nature, their comportment, arakereba. Ara means wild. Arash is what they would say in classical Japanese. But they have it conjugated to where they kind of turn it into a verb using this kereba form. Saga arakeri is what you could say. Arakere. And then they attach this ba to it. Okay. Now, again, if you're familiar with modern Japanese, you're going to be like, oh, well, this is the thing that makes it into a hypothetical. It turns it into an if statement. However, notice how I said that it wasn't an if they are wild. I said because they are wild. Because classical Japanese, there were two different ways to use the ending ba. If you had it with an e, so like hanaseba, or hashireba, or wakareba, then that made it not a hypothetical, but an actual conditional, as in this thing happened and then this thing followed it. So it kind of means a because, or a when. So because arakereba, because they are wild. Hanaseba, because he speaks. Or wakareba, because you understand. Whereas if they wanted to say an if, they would add it to an a ending. So you would say arak, in this case, you would actually say arakuba. But if we were to do something with a regular verb like hashirabas, if he runs, if it runs, if he, she, it runs, if I run, or let's see, what was the other one? Hanasaba, if one speaks. So this is a because they were wild. Because. And then sato is a village, so they're running around the villages, the where people live. And then ni is a thing again that we know, it denotes place or direction. And then te is the connective thing. And honestly, what I remember learning is that ni te is where we get the modern Japanese de from. And if you want to know how that works, so what would happen is over time the e in the ni ended up disappearing, and it became te. Now, if you notice, if you have like you're just saying an n, te, and then you combine those, the already puts your mouth in such a way that it like voices the te, so it becomes te, de, and that's where we get the de from. It's actually a corruption of the nite. So sato de, so in the villages. Abare is to go wild, to go crazy. And then abare, and then this is a connecting thing. It means that we're not done with the sentence, but we're kind of moving on to a separate idea in the sentence. And then hakai is again another Chinese loan word. It means destruction. I'm sure you guys have heard of like a hakai shin, or like the god of destruction or something. Hakai is something that shows up a lot in anime and games and stuff. So hakai no, so of. Kagiri is like hodo, it means extent, but it specifically more focuses on like the outer edges of it. So all the way. So hakai no kagiri means something more to the effect of completely, so to the every way in which destruction could happen, the complete destruction. And then o means that this is what they are doing. This is what is that the lightning beasts are doing, completely destroying the thing. And then tsukusu means they are doing it complete. So it's just emphasizing that like that they are just destroying everything in their path. They are laying waste to everything. So continuing. Okay, and this one's pretty simple. Hayakute, they were fast, and fusegu koto, so the ability, so fusegu, defend, koto, the thing of defending, atawazu, unable to, no power to. So literally it was they were fast and they could not, and it doesn't explain who, because this is Japanese, and classical Japanese especially does not state what can be inferred, but because they were fast, they were unable to defend against them. So they were so fast you couldn't defend against them. And again, hayakute, so this is the connective. Hayash is what the classical verb of hayai would be. So hayakute, which obviously it's talking about the beasts. And then hayakute, and then the te again is a connective thing, which means that we're moving into a separate idea, but we're not moving on from the sentence. It's connecting the sentence. And then fusegu means to defend. And then fusegu koto. So this is technically in the attributive form. This fusegu means to defend. So fusegu koto, so the thing of defending. And again, normally in modern Japanese, you would expect some kind of a particle here, wa, ga, or something like that. But here they don't say it because they don't really need to. And then atau. Atau is classical Japanese for to have the power to do, to be able to. It's not quite completely the same as in the modern Japanese dekiru, but it's close enough. So atawazu. Now in modern Japanese, when we negate something, we usually throw it in we end it with an a and a nai. So like hana sanai doesn't speak, hashiranai doesn't say. But in this atawanai is what, if we were to put this into modern perspective, is how it would go. But they did it with zu, which you can still see sometimes in modern Japanese, but it shows up kind of rarely. But that is how they did it. This is the ending form of the negation in classical Japanese. So they weren't able to defend against these beasts because they were so fast. Okay, and I'm going to end it here because it cuts in. But so kano, or let's just go over this first. So that inazuma, or those inazuma, those lightning beasts, kemono, beast, o, so doing to that, hatashi means to end or to bring to its conclusion. Ato means, which we just went over, which to be able to. Mono, person. Araba, if there is. Shigenori nomi, or Shigenori is the name of the character here. Nomi, only, zo. And that's emphatic. It's emphatic, and it also implies that there's more, that this is kind of the end. And then tote means to speak, or it means that we're going to say. So again, we're going to go back and break this down. Kano, so those. And in modern Japanese, we can see this in the verb, or not in the verb, in the word kanojo, right? Because you've probably been told that kanojo means she. And practically speaking, yes, that's how it works, but that's not originally what it meant. Kano means that or those. And then in kanojo, you would write the character onna, which means woman. One of the ways you can read that character is jo. So kanojo literally means that woman, or the third person woman. So that's why it now means her. It means that woman, the woman over there, or the woman that we are talking about. And then, so kano inazuma, lightning, no kemono, like we say, so those lightning beasts, those thunder beasts. O means to be able to, or to do toward those things, as they're the receiving end of the following action. Hatasu. Hatasu means to bring to a conclusion, to end, right? To complete or to end. So in this case, it means to exterminate or to bring, to destroy. And then hatashi is a connection, which you've probably seen, we do this in modern Japanese too. Hatashi ato, meaning to be able to. So hatashi ato, being able to bring to an end. And then this is in the attributive form. Hatashi ato mono means a person who is able to bring to the end those lightning beasts. And then araba, like I said, this is now the hypothetical ba. Because if it was areba, it would be because there is somebody. But there, in this instance, it's hypothetical. It's if there is somebody. So araba, if there is. So if there's anyone who can destroy, or if there's a person, or if there's someone who can destroy those lightning beasts, shigenori nomi. Nomi means only. And we do see this a little bit sometimes in modern Japanese, but normally you would just say dake or bakari, depending on the situation. But nomi is how they would use that. Nomi means only. Like it means dake, means only. So shigenori nomi. So only shigenori. And then zo is emphatic, is like, oh, they're putting some emphasis in it. But technically speaking, if you wanted to have this be a full sentence, you could say shigenori nomi zo aru. Or shigenori nomizo owasuru. However, because it's classical Japanese, oftentimes they will just end the sentence right there, and then they'll leave off the entire other half of a sentence, which they're kind of doing in this case. And then they follow it up with a tote. Now this to, you will recognize if you know modern Japanese as the to being like when somebody speaks or thinks or writes something, they always follow it up with to. So he said that. It's kind of like that. He said that. So, kare wa omoshiroi. So, omoshiroi means interesting. Kare wa omoshiroi to itta. He said that it was interesting. Kare wa omoshiroi to omota. He thought that it was interesting. Omoshiroi to yonda is he wrote that it was interesting. Or omoshiroi to, actually I said yonda. I said kaita. Omoshiroi to kaita is he wrote something. He wrote that it was interesting. Omoshiroi to yonda, you read that it was interesting. But in this, they're not going to actually give you the entire sentence, what happens, the following thing. They're just going to say to and then te. To itte means that he thought that, and then we're moving, and then we're connecting into the next sentence. So this is something that happens a lot in classical Japanese. Tote. So saying that this is what people are thinking, because it's not going to tell us that this is what they said or this is what they thought. They're just going to assume. So maybe people said this, maybe they only thought this. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to say that this is what they said / thought, and we're connecting it to the next thing. Okay, so they're thinking, if there's anybody who can destroy these lightning creatures, it is only Shigenori. And then yohito. Yo means world. Hito means people of the world. Tsushima is the name of the place that they're in. Daiichi, the number one, the first. No, of. Hayawaza, hayai, quick. Waza, skill. No, of. Musha, warrior. O means to do to him or for him, he's receiving. Tanomi is to rely upon, to ask a favor of. And then keri is, again, that past tense / poetic emphasis. So again, yohito, is the people of the world, the regular people, the normal people, the people who are out and about, as opposed to somebody like the gods or the people who are out living in the wilderness or the people who are practicing the Buddhist path and are technically removed from the world. So the people who said that is the people. It is the people in the world who are saying this about Shigenori. So Yohito Tsushima Daiichi. Daiichi is a Chinese loan word. It's not technically Japanese, but I mean, it still works. But it's number one, the first, the foremost. Daiichi no, so he is the first hayawaza. Hayai means quick, and waza means skill. So hayawaza, quick skill, the fast skill. No musha is warrior. Again, is another Chinese loan word. So he is the warrior of the fast skill of number one. So he's the number one fast striking warrior. And so, to him, Tanomi Kiri. So the people of the world thought, well, if there's anybody who can slay these foul lightning beasts, it's only Shigenori. And this is what they thought. And so they asked the number one fast skilled warrior in Tsushima. They asked him, Tanomu. And again, did I go over that? Tanomi is to ask a favor of, and then Keri is the poetic past tense ending. And it's in the ending form, not the attributive form, because sometimes you'll see it in the attributive form, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, continuing. Okay, so Shigenori, and again, Shigenori is the name of the character, but Shigenori, katana, which technically, if this was, if this was technically before the Mongol invasions, they wouldn't have katana in the same way that they did in the Edo period, but whatever. And then o means that is what's receiving, omotte, so holding on to, but in this case, motte often means like more by means of or with, right? Using. Yojin, so yojin is other hito, ni, so to, okure, fall behind, o means to follow doing to the fall behind, okure o torazu means to not take. So this is it's a little bit weird to translate verbatim or just straight translate. It means that he was second to nobody. It means that he was not the inferior of anyone in this regard. So Shigenori again is not followed by a wa or ga. And then katana o motte, so with his katana, yojin ni okure o torazu, means he was by no means anybody's inferior when it came to the use of the katana. Okay, and then ami dashitaru, and I'm not going to go over because we've been over a lot of this, but as you can see, there's a lot of repeat of some of the same grammar patterns. But ami dasu means to come up with, to create, to fashion. Amu literally means to like braid or to weave together. So, and then dasu is to bring out, so to weave and bring into existence essentially. So to create, to make up, and then dashitaru means he did that, completion / continuation. Hikem means secret sword. So secret sword technique. So he called it, so this thing is the receiving thing. Shiden Issem, which is purple electricity, purple lightning, one flash. So it's the name of it's technically what they would say. It's a fancy way of saying a sword flash, right? And I believe in English, this is what's called the heavenly strike. To, meaning again, says or thinks or writes or whatever. And then shosu, again, this is a Chinese loan word, but it means to name or to give a title. Sho, and then su means to do, but it's the ending form of su. In modern Japanese, we don't say su anymore. We say suru, but suru is technically the attributive form of it. Classically, the ending form was su. So he labeled this secret sword technique that he created Shiden Isen, so the purple electricity single flash or the heavenly strike as they translate it in English. Anyway, continuing. Okay. Hitono, so people belong to I, nite, so at or by means of. Miru is to see. Koto is the thing. Atawazaru is a negative form, but it's also putting it in a negative attributive form. And then waza is a skill technique, and nari is the classical to be. It's like modern de aru or des or whatever. So to go over, hito no, me is the eyes of humans, the eyes of people. Nite, like I said as before, is the de. Miru koto is the thing of seeing. Atawazaru is not be able to. And then waza, and like I said, it's in the attributive form. Waza is skill. Nari is to be. So it is the, it was a skill that you could not see with the human eye. Okay, so shigenori wa. See, now if you notice, we are using a wa this time. And the reason why we're using wa this time is because we are focusing on shigenori now. And then mura no kemono, so mura is shigenori, village, no kemono, so the beasts of the village. O tsuri is to fish and out. So fish out. The komatsu ga hama, so the beach of Komatsu, which means little pine, so little pine beach. And he sasoi tari. Sasou means to invite, but in this case it specifically means to lure out. So shigenori wa mura no kemono o tsuri dashite, so he brought out the beasts, brought them out, and then lured them to the Komatsu ga hama, to the beach of Little Pine Beach. And again, we've been over all of this, all of the bunpo. What the heck is bunpo? Grammar. So we won't go over it again. Okay. Suna ga toraeru kemono ashi. So the sand that the beasts, suna ga toraeru. So the sand catches the feet of these beasts. The kemono ashi. Kemono is beast and ashi is the feet. So their feet are technically buried in the sand. So I guess they can't move as quickly. Suna ga toraeru kemono ashi. Kemono futari to watari ai. So kemono is beast. Futari is two. Technically, you're supposed to use it with people. Futari is two people. But in this case, it denotes the fact that he is fighting with them. Futari to, so as a pair, so one-on-one. Watari ai is, technically that means to cross over and then do it together, because watari is to cross, ao is to do together or to meet. So they crossed blades is how my dictionary translated this as. So on the beach where the beasts had their feet caught up by the sand, that's where they battled. They dueled each other. Okay. Inazuma, so Inazuma is again lightning. Ni is by means of. It's describing that is through the Inazuma that this happened, this next thing happened. Sunawa, and again, because we're using a wa here, because we're talking a little bit, there's a bigger picture that we're going over. And so we're focusing on this instance of this little thing. So the sand wa hai is ash. Hai to, so like it's the same to as before. Tonari, so the sand became ash. And then ki wa, so ki is the trees or the wood. Wa sumi became charcoal. Sumi is charcoal. Tonaru. That's interesting. It's interesting that it doesn't end with nari, but it ends with naru. Normally, in order for it to end with naru, it technically needs to have a zo or a nam in there. There's something emphasizing it, but it's not in there, so I wonder why they went with naru. I guess it just sounds a little bit nicer than instead of saying suna wa hai to nari, ki wa sumi to nari. Because you say nari twice and it sounds a little strange, but whatever. Okay. Koko zo. So like I said, so koko, here, zo, emphatic. To, think or say or speak or whatever. To, bakari, to the extent or degree. Shigenori wa, so shigenori, shiden issem, so his heavenly strike. Nadekirite, is to sweep or sweep with one go. And then we'll go over this next part because he hasn't said this next part. But so koko zo, so here zo, emphatic. So koko zo is what they would say. It's like, oh, here it is. Now's my chance. To, so that's what he thought. And then bakari is, again, extent. It's kind of like hodo in that it's in this instance. It denotes time. So as soon as he thought, here, Shigenori wa, so Shigenori, Shiden Isen, so his special heavenly strike, Nare Kirite. So that's when he struck. It's like, now. So he thought, as soon as he thought now, he unleashed his special ability. So, Saigo no kemono ga, so the last of the beasts ga hatsuru, so finish off or to take care of, hodo, so to the degree or when. So Saigo no kemono ga hatsuru hodo is, and he finished off, and so he finally finished off the last of the beasts. Okay. Amagumo, so rain, cloud, sarite, so saru is to leave, expel, and then sora, the sky, wa hare is to become clear. So as soon as he finished off the last of the beasts, the rain clouds dispersed, the sora, sorry, I'm getting things confused. The sky became clear, and Tsushima, so Tsushima, the island, wa is, again, this is what we're talking about. Koto is a thing or an event, or not just event, but an incident in this case. Mo is like even then it's a little bit emphatic, I guess you could say. And then nakari keri. So nakaru is a little bit of a changed version of the verb nasu, or I don't even know if it's a verb as it is an adjective, but it's the negative things it means is not or does not or does not exist. But we're changing it to a verb with this kari. We're going from nash to nakari. So we can change it into a verb, so we can add the emphatic, the poetic emphasis / past tense keri on the end of it. So literally what this means is Tsushima wa koto mo nakari keri means that there was no more incidents in Tsushima, that this was a wrap. Okay. Sono nochi. So sono means that, and nochi means after. So after that, Shigenori, so the main character Shigenori, kakure, hide, sumite, lived. So he went into hiding. He went into hiding. And again, we have sumite. Again, modern Japanese, what we would say is sunde. But what it originally was is you would put it in the e form, so like hanashi, hashiri, or whatever. You add the te as a connective, and that's what they used to do. And that te eventually became te. It became a little more guttural or stop. Or glottal, not guttural, glottal, a glottal stop. So he went into hiding. Ide, to come out. Ao mono. So ao means to meet. So to come out and meet mono. Mo. So even so those type of people, mo. Mare means rare or occasionally or very sparse. Mare nari. So after he finished slaying the beast, he went into hiding, and he only met with people very rarely. Okay, and we're gonna break this up into two things. So tagui is kind or type. Naki, so no type, no kind. Literally in this instance means like unparalleled. Yu means bravery or manly, what do you call it? Manly effort kind of a thing. Brave. Yusha, au. These mean like brave man or hero. To, so with unparalleled bravery, to, and ude means arm. So with an unparalleled arm, an arm in Japanese specifically more means like it's a symbol of power. So if you're ude ga umai, which they say in modern Japanese, means that your arm is good. Literally means your arm is good, but what it means is that you're really skilled at this. You're really strong at this. You can do it. So with an unparalleled bravery and might. So receiving that, shimeshishi. So shimesu means to show, to express. And then the shi is a attributive form of the past tense of ki. Now, ki is very related to keri, but it has a little bit less of the poetic emphasis. So literally what this means is tagui naki, so unparalleled bravery and power, showing, who showed. Dude, it's a past tense, mono. So the people who expressed or showed unparalleled bravery and strength. Nomi, which again, only, ni, so to them, only to them. Shiren isen no ogi. So the heavenly strike, ogi means like a secret art. It's the final ultimate teaching of a way of arts or whatever. It's not just for fighting techniques. It can be for Buddhist doctrine or art techniques or music techniques, or it's just anything that's like the final teachings, the secret teachings. Oku literally means like deep in something. So yama no oku is deep in the mountains, or ie no oku is deep within, is at the back of the house. It's deep inside. It's at the center where it takes a long time to get there and it's hidden. And then gi means in this instance, it means something like doctrine or teachings. O stau. Stau in modern Japanese, stau means to declare. To say out loud, to declare to other people. But classically, what it more means is like to convey, to pass on. So literally is, Shigenori only taught his secret art. He only taught his secret art to those who expressed or who showed unparalleled bravery and strength. Oh, he didn't even say that. Okay, and okaze, so the great winds, kuru. Now again, a lot of times in modern Japanese we just say kuru. That is both the ending form and the attributive form, but classically, kuru was only the attributive form. Ku was how you would say to come. So like, ware ku is I come, or imashi or nanji ku is you come, and that's not that's not a command. That's just doing it. But kuru toki is attributive. So okaze kuru toki. So the time, toki means time. When the great winds came, or when the great winds come, katana o, so to take up the katana, shigenori no, so the possessive shigenori io is hut, ni sasagu. So to the Shigenori's hut is to offer up, to give honorifically from an inferior to a superior. So when the great winds and the big storms come, people, it doesn't say who, it doesn't actually express who actually does this, but the people, the warriors, the unparalleled warriors, offer up their swords to the hut of Shigenori. Okay. And this is only the first part of the sentence, but ari is to exist, to be. So ari dokoro is the place that you are at. Shiru is to know. So ari dokoro shiru, so know the place that he is at, in this case Shigenori. Ari dokoro shiru deshi. Deshi is another Chinese loan word that means disciple, learner. So the disciples who know where Shigenori was, or where his hut was, no means that they are going to be doing whatever comes next. Okay. Mata. And again, so it's a little bit more emphatic. Kemono shirizoken. So kemono is the beasts. Shirizoken means to push back, to cause to retreat. Shirizoken tono. So to is, that's what they thought, and no is of, it's kind of like nominalizing, it's making it a thing. No omoi. Omoi is the thought. Nareba is because it is such. Nareba nari. So the beasts, sorry, this is really hard. The beasts, they push back the beasts, and the shirizoken, shirizoku is what the verb is in classical Japanese, means to push back, to cause to go back. And this kem, however, is a really interesting thing that you see in modern Japanese. It's kind of like a modern Japanese daro, or in English we would probably say something like possibly, but it denotes a level of doubt, uncertainty about the whole thing. So we don't know that the beasts are going to show up again, but if they do, so once more push back the beasts, doubtful, we don't know. Tono, it means this is what they thought. Tono omoi, this is the thoughts that they had. Nareba, because their thoughts were, we may have to push back the beast once more. Nari. So it is because They thought that they may have to fight the beasts again, that they knew that they would offer up their swords to Shigenori's hut. So basically saying that all of the warriors who learned Shigenori's secret art were now willing to and prepared for just in case these beasts end up appearing once more. Okay, so that was a little bit exhausting for me, but hopefully you learned a thing or two from this, and hopefully I was able to entertain you by explaining what this was, and I hope it wasn't too rambly and it made a little bit of sense. And hopefully now you can appreciate some of these things of this story a little bit more, and hope you enjoyed it. I thank you for checking this out. Ito kateji ke no koso haberi kere, and hopefully we will see you next time, because there are, as you know, there are many other Mythic Tales, and there are plenty of other instances in plenty of other instances in video games and other media where classical Japanese does show up, and I want to go over those instances and help you understand them so you can appreciate them even more. So once more, Ito kateji ke no koso haberi kere, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.